with infinite complaisance, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space.
On this episode of Into the Fray, I welcome Angela on with me, and I'm not going to drop a lot of hints as to what we're going to be talking about, but it is a UFO experience that she had back in 1995, and I will let Angela lead the way as far as how much information she wants to share. Angela, welcome on to the show.
Thank you, Shannon. So in 1995, I lived in Georgia. It was a little town called Austell, Georgia. It was about 15 minutes from Atlanta. I want to say I was 21. It was in 1995. And I had just moved into this place, but it was just a typical mobile home park, you know. And I lived in a pretty big place. It was 18 by 80, so it was really long. And I was asleep that night, and I had just got up to go to the bathroom, you know, like you normally do. It was a normal night. I was just asleep. And the first thing I saw was lights. It was blue lights. And so obviously, living in a mobile home park, you would think it's the police. So I thought, what are the police doing here? And so I got up and walked around my bed, and kind of the curtains were kind of pulled away from the wall a little bit, and I could see out the window. I was also hearing a sound. It was like a buzzing sound, but there's no way to describe this to you because it was penetrating the atmosphere. Is the only words I can come up with to describe it. It was so powerful. It blows your mind how powerful it was. It's undescribable. So I kind of looked out the window, and, you know, at the time I was in the room with my husband. I was married at the time. He was in the bed asleep, but nobody else was there. It was probably about 2:33 a.m. And I kind of looked out the window, and I saw a ship. I saw a spaceship. I saw UFO. I don't know exact words to call it. I just call it what we know to call it these days. And back then, you know, there were very few stories out. There was no YouTube back then, you know. I didn't even have a cell phone. So, like, reading stories or something like that, I'd never done that. Like, I did not know anything about UFOs. Never done any kind of research. But I knew that was a UFO. And so I'm looking at it, and I'm like, in myself, talking to myself, I just said, that's a UFO. And then right after that, I thought, but why are you here? And the ship, I just gotta stop and tell you this part. The ship, the UFO itself is alive. It looks alive. I don't know how to explain it to you, but the ship itself is alive, and it's powerful. I would love to do a reenactment of the story because I could draw the pictures of it, you know, I could draw exactly how it looks like. But it's so powerful, the experience. Just seeing the ship it's just, there's so much power coming off of it. And the sound, it's like a vibrating sound. And as it was making its noise, this white light was going around it counterclockwise, and the ship was turning the opposite direction, is what it looks like a wheel within a wheel. So anyways, I'm standing there, and it seems like slow motion, but it's happening really fast. So I said, but why are you here inside of me? And as soon as I thought that within myself, they answered me. They answered me telepathically, and they just said, we're here for you. And when they said that, Shannon, I wasn't scared when I first saw the ship. I wasn't scared at all. It was powerful, and it was like insane, but I wasn't scared. But when they answered me, I freaked out. I began to scream. And like I said, I was married at the time, so I started screaming his name, and I was screaming help. I probably got it out one time. And then The only way I know how to describe what happened next is it reminds me of when you would go to the fair when you were a child and you would get on that ride that kind of spins around and it plasters you to the wall. That's exactly what it felt like next. It was like something happened that I was pulled to the floor. And once I was pulled to the floor, the only thing I could do was open my eyes. And that was just for maybe 2 seconds. And then everything just went dark. But I was screaming with everything I had in me. I was screaming, Trey, help! Because I was married to someone named Trey at the time. And so I was screaming his name and he was not moving. He never moved. He never heard me. It definitely wasn't helping me. And then I was pulled to the floor and I couldn't move anything. And so at that moment, I don't remember anything after that except for I know that I saw the bottom of the ship. I know that I saw it because I remember seeing underneath it, and there was a white light underneath it. It was emanating blue light, like a blue flame or gas flame or police lights. I know that I saw underneath it. I know I saw the opening underneath it, and I can't tell you how I saw that. Uh, the memories after this point are very vague and like fleeting. However, I do have a moment of, I remember sitting in a waiting room like yesterday. Like I remember, just like I remember it coming. I was sitting in like a room with like a doctor's office or something, sort of, but it was round. It had a bench on the left side of me, and I was sitting like in the center of the room on like a two seater bench, and there were other people in the room. There were people that were sitting to the left of me. They were not talking though. They were not talking to me. I wasn't talking to them. They were just kind of like sitting around, like kind of spaces in between them, but sitting on the left side of me. And then I was sitting like on a two-seater bench, and there was someone sitting right next to me. And the person that was sitting next to me, he seemed like he was like inebriated or out of it. He seemed like he was just like comatose. But however I was talking to him, I was like, what are we doing? Why are we sitting here? Like, what are we waiting on? And he couldn't really talk to me. He couldn't answer my questions. But I just remember being so confused and not knowing what to do, really. I'm kind of telling the story really fast. The next thing I remember is I do have a memory of sitting on a metal table. I was in the room by myself, I thought. However, I felt like people were watching me. But it was I just remember sitting on this table. I don't remember anything being done to me. I don't remember them touching me. And it's so frustrating, Shannon, not knowing what happened to me. And I've carried it for so long. And usually I'm like in tears by now sharing the story because it is so traumatic and you can't just tell anybody, you can't share the story with people. And so I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
For so long, I've carried it. And I just appreciate you so much because you give people a safe place to share. I know that it happened to me. I've had people throughout the years, like just the few people I share it with, that people will act like you're crazy or it was sleep paralysis. And I can tell you right now, Shannon, it was not sleep paralysis. I was totally awake. Totally awake. Like I said, I wasn't scared when it first happened, but when they told me they were there for me, I started screaming. And so like all this time I think, well, what is it about me that you guys wanted to take me? you know like I was just a simple person. I didn't have any kind of extraordinary gifts or things happening or some it blows your mind. You don't understand it. And so like if we're getting closer to any kind of answers, sharing stuff like this, I'm so thankful. And it's healing to be able to talk about it. I did a interview with L.A. Marzulli not too long ago, and I had a lady named Yvonne Smith hypnotize me, and she walked me through it. I wasn't able to remember anything more that I've told you. It seems like it's helping just being able to talk about it. I'm not sure what else to tell you at this point. I've kind of told the story really fast.
No, you
Um,
did incredible. Believe me, and I just appreciate you being willing to share. That's a lot. I can only imagine. I really can only imagine because I've heard stories like this and I'm always like, as much as I love strange and sometimes really scary things, I wouldn't want that to happen. I just wouldn't, especially when it comes to your home and it essentially invades your safe space.
yeah, and it's crazy because I don't know if it was a bad thing. I don't know because I don't have memories of anything that was done to me. Like, I have a great faith now, Shannon, and I've had, good heavenly things happen to me since then, and I've had, bad things. Like I've seen dark things, but for me to say that that was evil that happened to me, I don't know. Or to say that it's good, I don't know. So like I just take a kind of neutral stance on that, because I really don't know what happened. And to try to act like I do, that's just foolish. To say it's evil, why would I say it's evil? I don't know that it is. I really don't know. All I know is I was terrified. I was terrified in an instant. I lost all control of my body. They took complete control of the situation. They took complete control of me. They took my voice. They took the ability to move my body within seconds. So that was scary.
Well, especially when you have another human being right there in the room with you and you're actually screaming for help and calling their name and they just don't budge.
Yeah, he couldn't hear me. He couldn't hear me. He didn't move. He didn't flinch. And I was screaming at the top of my lungs.
Angela, can I just say that you attempting to get hypnotized to try to remember what might have happened is extremely brave of you. Are you a little relieved that nothing else really came out of that? Or would you really like to know, was anything done to me on this table? What did I witness anything else done to any of the other people? They look like people, at least on the craft at that time. Are you happy that you don't remember?
No, I'm not happy at all. I want to remember. Like I said, I have a strong faith, and I've been through some stuff in my life, Shannon. So, like, I feel like I could take it, no matter what it is. I did have a miscarriage, and I want to say, I don't know for sure. So, unless I know positively, I won't say that it happened. But I did have a miscarriage, and I want to say it happened shortly after this happened, like 4 months after this happened. 3 months. I'm sorry, 3 months after this happened. Yeah, I want to know whatever happened. I want to know. It's frustrating not knowing. It's frustrating just not knowing why they chose me. And have we all been through this? Or, you know, like, do we just not all remember? Or is it just a few people that go through it? Gosh, I had an interview with another lady. LA did another interview with a lady named Karen, and she had went through multiple pregnancies. So, like, I really want to know what happened to me. I feel like I'll be able to take it. I did have someone else explain that to me, though. When you start remembering horrible, horrible things, it can be devastating. But I just feel like I could take it. I really do. I feel like I could handle it.
Well, and that you deserve to know, because I mean, this was against your will. You didn't give permission for this, so I understand that sentiment.
Yeah, yeah. And it's mind blowing. Someone had to see it because, like I said, this was a mobile home park. I was young. I was in my 20s. Just bought this place. It was a brand new trailer. I didn't have any sense. I was a young person, and I was a young kid, and I put it in a trailer park. But I was surrounded by people, and the ship itself was not that big. It was small. I want to say it was like 25 feet maybe across. It was real small. Like, it was like metal or platinum or metallic, but the ship itself, Shannon, was alive. And I had not heard any other stories when this happened to me. And the first one that I heard that sounded similar to what I experienced was the Pasa, Pascagoula or Pascagoula
Uh-huh.
guys, the two guys on the dock. It sounded so similar to what I experienced. They saw the blue light, they heard the noise first. Yeah, it sounded real similar to mine.
And this is, of course, a saucer shaped.
Yes, Oh, what I saw or what they saw?
What you saw.
Yeah, it was saucer shaped. It was just like a normal UFO circle, had a small dome on the top, but it was so petite. It was way smaller than you would think. Way smaller than I would think. I mean, it was really small. It couldn't have been more than 25 foot across, and it hovered in between my mobile home and the one next to me. So it was like right in the center. My mobile home was like 18 by 80, so it was really big. I had 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and I'm in the back bedroom, which was the master bedroom. It hovered right at my front door, and I mean the power that was coming off of it. It doesn't make any sense to me that no one heard it. To me, it seemed like it came out of a different atmosphere. Instead of just like coming down from the sky, it seemed like it flew in or came through like like a I don't know what you would call it. Like it just came out of a different atmosphere is what it seemed like to me.
If you could have gone outside and reached up, how far away from the ship do you think you would have been?
I think if I had been able to reach my hand, like if I was standing underneath it, I could touch it.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I'm 5'7". Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I know that I stood underneath it. I don't know if I was floating. I don't know if they were carrying me, but I know I saw it up close and underneath it because I could see the opening underneath it, and it was really bright white light coming from underneath it.
Do you remember walking outside or anything like that?
I don't remember walking outside, no. And I would say, Shannon, if I know they took me, I know it because I remember sitting in a waiting room, but I don't think they walked me out my front door. So I had to have gone through the window or the wall, or there's no way that, I mean, my bedroom door was shut. There was no time in between anything. I told you, like, that it happened so fast. It happened so fast, but it seemed like it was happening in slow motion. But when they took me to the floor and they took my ability to move or speak, I didn't get up and walk anywhere. Like they had to have took me out through the wall or the window.
With the craft that you saw when you were still, you still had enough faculties to identify this thing is 25 feet across. When you're talking about this waiting room situation and then this table, you feel like that's a different craft than you were aboard, right? It seems like that one had more space, or do you feel like you were aboard this
It,
smaller one?
no, it seems like the one I was on had space. Like it was a room, like a big room to me. I, I don't know that I could tell you how big it is, but mm, maybe 20 feet across. I, I can't really. It wasn't huge. It was just like a small waiting room. But yeah, when I was in the waiting room, it seemed way bigger than the ship I saw. Yes. I do have one memory though, Shannon. I didn't mention this because I don't know if it's the same time that it happened to me. And so, like I said, I don't say it unless I know for sure. But I do have a memory of being in a different, I guess you could say, different world or different place, like a space sort of place. Almost like I'm turning around and looking out a window and we're moving away from it, like like a space station.
And you mean like this is a memory that you've always had, that has just kind of always been there your whole life?
During the same time, yeah,
Okay.
not my whole life. During after this happened, I want to say it's the same time, Shannon. I want to say the memory is from the same time, but
So it seems like
I'm
there has been some things that have tried to come through.
yeah. I mean, this may have happened more than once.
Yeah.
It may have happened more than once. My memories, like the one I'm sharing with you right now, as if I had just like it just happened. what I did share with you is completely not foggy. There was no sleep paralysis. This happened just like I'm talking to you right now. This is for sure, for sure. This is not foggy. I was not doing drugs. I was not drinking. It was nothing. I was wide awake, and this really happened to me. And this, I mean, it really happened to me. It really happens to people all the time, and there's more stories coming out now. It's becoming easier to be able to share it.
Well, and it makes you wonder, was this is probably not the first time, especially if we go off the pattern. There's not always a set pattern with these things, as you know, but the MO is usually they start to quote unquote pick up people or take them from a young age. And then it tends to maybe taper off. For some people, it doesn't. Like I said, it's not always following the exact same MO.
Mm-hmm.
But
I do have other memories, but it wasn't the same time that it happened. And so, like, maybe that would be for a different time, because I don't want to confuse people. This really happened. This happened, and it was so dramatic, traumatic, life-changing, and it stays in your mind and heart all the time. If something like this has happened to you, you think about it all the time, and you won't answer. You want to have answers to what happened to you. You want to remember more, you know? I do have a story that my grandmother had experienced something similar. I could share that with you if you want.
Absolutely,
But
because I was going to go there. I wanted to know if there was a family history at all with anything strange.
yeah, my granddaddy worked for the Air Force, and which that might have something to do with it too. I'm not sure, but anyway, my grandmother was driving home from a place, like a meeting that she went to. She was on Flint Hill Road, and this is in Georgia, real close to where it happened to me. And she lived in Powder Springs, Georgia, and she was driving home. She was on Flint Hill, which is next to these huge water tower things. There's a bunch of them. And I'm just telling you this because I know exactly where she was. And I'm picturing it as I'm telling the story. But she said she was driving home. Her radio turned off, and then her car died. And she said she was sitting in the car, and she said she looked up and she could see there was a spaceship right above her car. Gosh, Shannon, I don't remember all the details, but she said her car turned off and she lost power in her car. She said that she lost 2 hours of time. Like, this was a quick drive. Her house was right up the street from where she was. It couldn't have took her more than 5 minutes to get home. But she said she lost 2 hours of time. And this is the only experience she ever told me about, because she was the first person I told what happened to me. And then I just stopped sharing it after I told her. I stopped. She did not make me feel stupid for telling her, or she didn't tell me I was crazy, but that's when she shared her story with me. But we never spoke about it again after that, and she has since passed away. She did have an experience, so maybe it does go from generation to generation. I don't know. I really don't know, but she's the only one I know of in my family that experienced something like that, though.
I mean, that unfortunately is not very surprising, right? I mean, that's just something that we keep hearing is these things tend to they set their sights on certain families and they don't get tired of coming back for these visits, and they're not nice visits. So she never, I mean, this is a long time ago, of course, and even now you bring up hypnotism or any kind of regression therapy, and people still to this day are like, oh boy, what a bunch of kooks. Did she try to dig into that more? Or nothing went further than what you just shared, essentially. I mean, I'm sure over time, like you said, sometimes details get lost, but she never later on came to you and went, oh my gosh, I something else came up about, this sighting, about the craft over the car, and shared it with you, because I don't know how many people, it sounds like you haven't told many people. And then back then, especially, I would imagine she might have even told less people. So you might have been one of the very few that she told.
Yeah, no, she was very conservative. She was I guess you could say, well, I don't want to call my grandmother religious, but she did have a faith in God, but she was more churchy back then, like the Bible Belt sort of thing. So she wouldn't share this with people. She just would not. That's just not who she is. She would not do that. And it was way less accepted back then. Like I'm sure like even 1995, it's just not something you would be talking about with people. It's gotten way easier now, but she did share it with her husband, my granddaddy, but he was real conservative and kind of I don't really I sh he shut her down, like he just made her feel like she was crazy and stupid for even saying it, and so that just kind of shut down any sharing about it with anyone else. I think she opened up to me just because it was so traumatizing to me when it happened to me. I shared it with her, and she said I had an experience too. We didn't put two and two together. We didn't talk about it a lot after that. I guess because we really had not heard anything about it being a generational thing, or I'm not sure why we didn't talk about it, Shannon. It's just there just wasn't too many stories around at the time, and I think when it happens to you, you want to try to explain it away yourself. Like when I shared it with her, I told her I had a dream, and it wasn't a dream. I was wide awake, and I guess that was like an easy way to tell someone I had this crazy dream, but it really wasn't a dream. I was totally awake.
Now, your grandfather, and I'm not asking for any more details than this. Did he hold any kind of a high or elevated security clearance in the Air Force?
I wish I knew that. I wish I knew the answer to that, Shannon. I don't know. I really don't know. I maybe could find out, but both of them have passed on. My mom's brother and sister have both passed on. She's the only one still living, and I don't think she knows that information. I really don't know. I'm
Ye-
not sure how I would find that out.
Yeah, that'd probably be pretty tough. Um, I mean, besides the fact that if we're just asking about security clearance, I think that probably would put a stop to it right there. Like I don't even know how you'd find out who has security clearance now, let alone back then. The
I
other,
should I
what was
should
that?
know more about that, and I don't.
No, that's okay. It's all right. I mean, they're not supposed to talk about it anyhow, so I'm sure that your grandmother it just becomes part of. Oh, this the husband goes off to work and they probably didn't even discuss things anyway. So just like now. So
Hmm.
these other memories though that you brought up, and I'm not trying to press you for anything more than you want to share. If you think that it would help aid in some of this, or maybe poke and prod
I
anyone
don't think.
else to connect it, then you feel free to share that. I don't think that it would muddy the waters at all.
Yeah, I have had several experiences, but I can't tell you. I really cannot tell you whether I was awake or in my body or out of my body, or if that makes sense. I don't. It it's just a couple of memories that I have, but it really doesn't have anything to do with this particular incident.
I see.
And
So you're just saying that you're just questioning it whether or not they were dreams, essentially just plain old dreams.
I
That
know I have a memory when I was 12 years old of floating back down to the earth. And that's the only way I know how to describe it. I was holding on to a device and I was floating back down to the earth in a neighborhood. I remember the neighborhood. I remember it just like it was yesterday. And I'm just holding on to this stick-like device. I don't know how to explain it. I wasn't scared at all. And that one really does sound crazy, Shannon. That's why I didn't want to share it, because I'm not a crazy person. I'm totally normal. I do everyday normal things. I don't have a lot of weird stuff happening in my life. I'm just a simple girl from Georgia. So like sharing that one, it sounds crazy to even share it, but it really did happen.
I don't think it sounds crazy.
Yeah, because I guess you've heard so many stories, so this nothing seems. I mean, like there's no telling all the stories you've heard. The
Well,
one show that I did watch that you did was the Monsters in the Town or something like that. I don't remember the name of it, so I'm sure you have heard many crazy stories.
Well, even outside of that, but just listening to your main, the main story that you're here to share, the main encounter, this UFO visit, even just taking that, and then what you just told me about, well, I was 12 and I just have this weird memory of being floated back down to the earth for using some device that I'm not even really, I have no way to place that as something we would use today, is extremely relevant, I think. Extremely. I just think that sometimes they maybe screw up, and whatever mechanism they use, or powers, if you want to, go for that far and use that word, they use whatever mechanisms they use to put people under or in this trance or the state of paralyzation where, like, you were on the floor, all you can move is your eyes. Sometimes I just think they really screw it up. And that's why you guys that have these terrifying experiences, maybe, like I said before, I don't know if that was the first time they took you. I don't know if that was in the middle of when they were taking you, or the last time they took you. Who knows? I haven't asked that question yet, if you think that that was the last time. But I really do think that sometimes they just muck it up. And their protocols, there's a chink in the armor somewhere. And then you have this memory from all the way back when you were 12 of floating back down to the earth. And that has to tie in with this UFO experience over the house.
Maybe it does, maybe that was their way of keeping me calm, and they sent me back down to the earth. I don't know. I have a memory, or I had an experience, traveling through like a wormhole, or I say wormhole because that's the only thing I know how to say to describe it. But it was like traveling really fast through like a tunnel, sort of like a tunnel with colors just flashing by me, like at the speed of light, traveling really fast. Yeah, I have had an experience like
Angela,
that.
when you were on the ship, what we're assuming was the ship, when in this waiting room and on this table, do you recall being completely terrified during that time, or you were just trying to figure out what the heck's going on, talking to these other people and all that?
Yeah, it's strange. I was sitting on the table and I felt like there was a group of people watching me, like a group of, not people, entities, whatever you want to call it. I felt like they were watching me. And I was sitting on this table, just kind of, I'm just sitting there, like stunned, out of place, not knowing what to do. Know I'm waiting on something, but don't know what. And that memory was kind of short. It's just like it's hard to explain because it everything happened so fast. The room was kind of enclosed, and it was kind of like dimly lit. It was bright but dimly lit. I don't know how to explain it. Where I'm sitting on the table, I could see light, but there was a doorway and a hallway, and there was no light, like dim lit light. It's hard to explain. It was definitely out of place, but I knew I was supposed to be sitting there waiting. So I'm just sitting there waiting. And it looked like a doctor's office, or like a medical room. So I'm just sitting there waiting. But this memory it's just a flash of memory. It's like it's not a long period of time, but I know for sure it happened. That I can tell you. I know for sure it happened. I have learned to stop apologizing, or even I'm getting to where now I can say, I know, instead of saying, I know this sounds crazy or it sounds crazy. No, this really happened to me. And it's important to give people a safe place to speak. So I really appreciate you doing that. And these things really do happen, and we're not crazy. There's nothing extraordinary about me. They did come. It did happen, and I'm gonna stop apologizing for it because it happened. You know.
Angela, do you recall that very next morning when this is all done and over with? Do you remember you woke up in your bed like normal? Was the room normal? The bedroom door was still shut? Was there any differences that very next morning?
I don't remember if the bedroom was shut or anything, but I remember waking up terrified. I woke up terrified. I definitely knew something had happened to me, and I was kind of like in a state of shock. Woke up and was immediately talking about it. I was telling my husband at the time, I was screaming your name. You were laying there. I was telling him just like, it just happened. I was like, did you hear that last night? Did you wake up? Did you see something? Now he is he's so normal and he does not talk about crazy stuff like that. And he immediately started making fun of me. But now looking back, Shannon, the person that was sitting beside me, I really feel like it was him. I don't know for sure. I just remember the person's face and him being comatose, and I can't really picture the face, but I really feel like it could have been my husband at the time.
Mm.
And I haven't spoke to him in a couple of years, but the last time I did talk to him about it, I told him I was doing an interview, and I said, remember when I told you this happened to me? And I said, that really did happen. And I said, you don't have any memories of that? I don't think he does. He didn't share anything then, but that morning when I woke up, I was terrified. That's what I remember. And for the next 2-3 weeks, I was terrified. I thought it was going to happen to me again. And then as the years went by, it just kind of, it fades a little bit, the terror part of being scared. And then, I'm almost 50. My next birthday, I'll be 50, Shannon, and my faith has gotten way stronger. I have a strong belief in God. So I have a faith that pulls me through a lot of scary times in life. I don't feel like I would I don't feel like I would be so scared of it this time. I would hope if this happened to me again, I would be able to just stand, because no matter what, they're going to do whatever they want to do. It doesn't matter what you do. They're going to do whatever they came to do, and they take control pretty quickly. So if it happens to me again, I hope I'm able to stand. After this happened to me, though, I don't have any more UFO memories. I don't have any memories of a ship coming back or entities coming back to take me or anything like that. This is my one big experience. Yeah, I don't have any memories of UFOs after that.
So even after your talk with L.A. Marzulli, nothing kicked up for you. There was nothing going on after that. Because sometimes when people tend to talk about these things, it's like, oh, the light gets shined back on them for some reason.
I would like to try to do it again as far as being hypnotized. I don't want to discredit the person that did it for me or say anything negative about the way they did it. But I just felt like I was sitting there with my eyes closed telling the story. It was no big difference as far as how we're talking now. She walked through her steps of how she did it. She is connected to several different UFO experiences. And so I just put it out there. Hey, if you guys want to do this, I'm willing to do it. And LA made it happen. They did the interview, but I'm not exactly sure how most people go through these things or what steps they take to hypnotize people. I would love to do it again. I would love to try again, find someone that could do it again. Maybe it'll work different this time. Maybe memories will come up, because I so want to remember Shannon. I do. It's hard to find the right people that can help you. I trusted this person because LA recommended her and I felt safe with her. But I didn't feel like I was in a trance or anything like that, if that makes sense.
I know of a couple of people that I could recommend if you were interested. We can talk about that later. But yeah, absolutely. If you really wanted to dive into that. I hate to ask a very cliche question, but people will go, why didn't you ask this? So I will. Did you notice, or have you ever noticed since the occurrence, any physical differences, any marks on your body, anything like that?
At the time, I'm not exactly positive it was during the same time, but I'm pretty sure that it was, because I had a miscarriage a year before I had my son, and my son was born 8/5/97. So I know that it happened a year before that, or during the same time. Like when I say 1995, I know that it happened between 95 and 96. So as far as the timelines and stuff, I can't positively say. This was a long time ago. I know that I put the mobile home there in '94, and it was the last year that they sold that size mobile home. So I know for sure that was when I put it there. But this incident happened in between that time and when I had my son. So it was in between that. And I had a miscarriage. It was a weird pregnancy too. I've been pregnant 3 times. It was weird because I felt like I was pregnant, but they kept telling me I was not. And so finally, I tested positive that I was pregnant, and I went back to the doctor and I said, yes, I am pregnant. And so they checked, they did an ultrasound, and they could see the sac that the baby's in, but they did not see a baby.
Mm.
And I ended up having a miscarriage after that. And they had to do the D&C and stuff, and you know how they do afterwards. But it was really strange, and to even just like, I knew my body was changing and I felt pregnant, but I went to the doctor's office, and they said I was not. And then later on I took a pregnancy test and it said I was. So I went back to the doctor and they did an ultrasound, and they didn't see a heartbeat. They didn't see a baby or a heartbeat. All they saw was the sac, or the place where the baby should be. And then I ended up having to do a D&C after that, and I had a miscarriage. So it was really strange. So as far as any other marks or anything on my body, I didn't notice. I was really young back then. I didn't even know what to look for. I was lying to myself saying it was a dream, but I know that it really happened. I don't have any memories of finding anything on my body or anything like that. No.
So during the time in between where finally you proved to the doctor you're pregnant until the time of the miscarriage, and I'm really sorry about that, by the way, at no time during that period could they say, okay, there's the baby right there. They would continue to tell you, here's the amniotic sac, but there's no baby inside.
I went to the doctor once to do the pregnancy test. They said there was no pregnancy. You're not pregnant. And I'm like, what's going on? So I went home, took a pregnancy test, went back, told them it was positive, and they said, yes, indeed, you are pregnant or were pregnant, but there's no baby. I think maybe they had sent me home that time, and then I came back for an ultrasound, and there was no baby. Oh, I remember what it was. I started spotting. It started showing blood. And so I went back to the doctor's office, and they said, there's no baby there. You were pregnant. There is a sac, so you definitely were pregnant, but there's no baby in here. There's no heartbeat. The baby obviously passed, so you're going to pass, you're going to have a miscarriage. And they sent me home for bed rest. And they told me you'll probably pass it within the weekend. So that's all I remember, though. They just sent me home, and then after that, they had to do the D&C.
Now, what about a change in routine after this sighting of the ship? Did you start to sleep differently or worse? Did you start to sleep with the lights on? Anything like that?
I do remember being scared. I don't know what all I did. I don't remember. I remember I started to take stuff to go to sleep because I couldn't go to sleep. After that, I started it was just over the counter stuff, but I started taking stuff to sleep. I had 2 jobs at the time, so I was working a lot. But yeah, I just remember being terrified and waking up, thinking it's going to happen again, going to bed full of fear, thinking it's going to happen again. Because it was really traumatic. It was very, very traumatic.
And your husband at the time, Trey, after that time, he never mentioned to you, oh, I had the weirdest dream last night, or anything that would correlate to what you experienced?
Not that he shared with me, like, nothing he shared with me. And we separated shortly after that. We didn't stay together. We were both kids when we got together, and we didn't stay together long. We had a son together. Actually, we had 2 sons together. One of them passed away when he was born, but I haven't really talked to him throughout the years. His life went a different direction than mine, and we separated, and he's never really told me anything. He's never really shared any. He's not that kind of person anyways. He doesn't like to make himself look stupid or crazy, so it's just not something he would share. It's not typical for him to share stuff like that.
What about any other type of activity in any of the places that you have lived?
Not that I can remember. I mean, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that's not like normal. You know what I mean? Nothing out of the norm, nothing like what happened to me that night. Like since then, Shannon, I have a faith in God, and I've, had periods in my life that I fasted and did stuff like that, and I've had heavenly experiences, but it's totally different than what I experienced this night. I truly believe, and this may be churchy talk or religious talk, I don't know, but I truly believe there's a battle going on above us nonstop, and there's good and there's evil, depending on, I don't know how to explain it. I just really believe there's evil entities and there's good entities. There's angels, there's darkness, there's, you know what I'm saying? There's so many things out there that we don't know. I truly believe there's so many different entities out there. I have seen dark things since then. I saw demons one time. There's different sizes. There's different kinds of entities out there. There's just so much. So many unexplained things out there.
So
And I
you saw a demon once.
I've saw demons, and they look like bats. They look just like bats, and it was just like a flock of birds, and they were flying away from me. To be honest with you, at that moment in my life, I was saying the name of Jesus because I was terrified at that moment. And as I'm saying it, they're flying away from me, like they're just flying away from me. And I saw them. That's the only dark thing like that I've ever seen, though. I've never seen shadow people or anything like that. But this particular moment, I saw demons, and the demons I saw looked like bats
How did you know they were demons?
because they were black. They looked like black shadows, is what it looked like. Black. They didn't look, I don't want to say shadows because it wasn't a shadow. They looked black. And I just correlate that with evil because it's dark, you know?
Why do you think you saw them at that time?
Because to be honest with you, at my life at that time, I was entertaining things I shouldn't be doing, experimenting, growing up, and I was coming out of that. I was trying to come out of that lifestyle. And I guess you could say I was turning to God at that moment. And so they were coming off of me, coming out of my life, coming off of me. I was calling on his name at that moment because I felt scared. Like I felt, to be honest with you, I felt terror at that moment. So I called on his name. And when I did, it's like they were running away from me or coming off of me, like they were attached to me. So when I called on his name, they came off of me.
Well, I guess at least you saw them outdoors and you weren't seeing them inside of your home or anything like that.
Yeah, I was walking outside. I had walked out of my house because I was scared, and I think I was headed to the neighbor's house because I was feeling scared, and I had started praying, and I called on his name, and they just started to come off of me. But it when I tell you that all my other experiences, they don't even compare to the one that I told you of with the ship. It there I feel like there's spiritual things, and then there's different worlds. I truly believe there are different worlds and different atmospheres. And that ship came in, and the ship was alive. I mean, it was so powerful. There is no other experience that I could compare to this one.
Well, especially with you having this thought, why are you here? And then they say, well, we are here for you. Do you feel like that's some kind of a, I mean, you said that the ship was alive. I mean, I don't want people to go, oh, how funny, Shan's asking if the ship talked to her, but I guess that's essentially what I'm saying. I don't know how else to say it, but do you feel like that was someone or something inside the ship doing that, or the ship itself imparting this upon you?
That's a great question, I think, because I know how alive the ship was. The ship has a life of its own for sure. There's so much power coming off the ship that I saw. It's a good question. I don't know. I really don't. I would love to know. I would love to have more answers. I would love to have more memories. Yeah, I don't know if it was the entities that answered me or the ship, or you know, I I don't know. I really don't know. I wish I could find someone that could help me though. So if you have someone to recommend, I would love to try them.
I certainly do, and I really do think that they could help.
Yeah.
Just winding down here with some of these questions. You have your one son born in 97, right? Do you have other kids?
I had one son that was born before. My son's like 27 now.
Mm-hmm.
I have one baby that passed away. He had a heart defect.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now I don't have any other living children.
Okay.
I've been pregnant 3 times, but that second pregnancy was just so weird. There was nothing normal about it at all. I never put those 2 and 2 together, what happened to me and being pregnant, but now being older and a little bit wiser, it could have had something to do with that. I'm a firm believer in being really authentic and telling my truth to the exact detail, and sometimes I leave things out and sometimes I don't, and I will say with the video I did with LA, it did, when Yvonne did the interview with me and did the hypnotizing session, it did help me remember things, and it was really, really emotional. I remember just like it's as though it's happening, at that moment when I did that, it was, as it was happening, if that makes sense. It was just like it was just happening. So I don't know if maybe I was hypnotized in a sense, or if it was just because I was being quiet and I was really into the moment. But I got really upset as though when it was happening. If that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And I would imagine that's why being hypnotized and being actually mentally taken right back there would be probably pretty horrifying, especially if you start to remember things like little beings around you or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if that would be very good to remember. So in regards to your son, has he ever mentioned at any point seeing something strange inside, outside? I saw a ghost in the corner, or I saw a weird light in the sky. And anything from your son's side in all these years?
Wow, that is such a great question, Shannon. I have never asked him because he's so normal. He's just such a normal guy. Uh, he lives in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He's married. We just had our first grandbaby, and he's just got such a normal life. I have never, like, I try to like stay out of his business, and just kind of stay to myself. And he calls me every couple of weeks, but I just try to keep my distance, and I try not to sound too crazy with him because he just doesn't talk about stuff like that. He doesn't. But I have never asked him, Shannon. I probably will ask him after this. When I have a right time, I'll ask. But I've never really asked him.
Does he know about your experience?
I believe I've shared it with him before. Yeah, but I don't remember sharing it with him, Shannon. It's just not something I would, because I know how he would respond. He'd just be like, "Mom, you're so crazy. That's crazy, Mom." Because you know what, Shannon, people cannot believe it unless they've experienced something.
Mm-hmm.
People just cannot believe it. Or they'll have like oh, you just had sleep paralysis, or you were dreaming, or, like they have so many suggestions. But somebody that's truly experienced something like this, they understand, like, so I'm very choosy who I share with. The first person I ever shared it with, any person other than my family, was L.A. Marzulli. And oh my gosh, I think I even got really emotional when I spoke to him because he was so kind. And he said, "Angela, this really happened to you." And it just, like, that in itself was so healing, to hear someone hear me and not shoot me down or say something else happened to me, because it's so traumatic and people need a place to share it. And I could say it a million times, Shannon, but I really appreciate your kindness, listening to people and allowing it and not shooting them down, or suggesting they're crazy, and I mean, like, doing it on the front lines. That's an amazing thing. I appreciate it. I really do. It's so healing each time I'm able to share it. Yeah, I don't know, like, it's amazing to be able to share it with someone that'll listen and not tell me I'm stupid or crazy. Or it's hard to share in itself, it's a hard thing to share. That it happened. It's it's just healing to be able to share it.
Well, no, and can I just say that, I mean, thank you for the kind words, of course. And the whole reason I'm able to do this is because of brave people like you that are willing to come on and share. But can I just say that, and this will tie into my closing question, can I just say that you are a badass because you said that if they came back, I just want to be standing when they take me. I just want to be standing. And I think that is amazing that you said that. And okay, so here's my final question. That said, say they do choose to come back, and you'll get some answers. You'll figure out maybe why you or where they take you, what do they want from you, but you have to remember everything about it. And maybe there's a reason that right now you don't recall everything about it because it might be pretty damn traumatizing. Would you take that chance and recall every single detail to get a few answers?
Absolutely. If I had the chance to stand, like if they come back, I'm going to do everything in my power to stand. I am not going to cower out. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to scream. Because, like I said, they are going to take control no matter what you do. So if you stand and be kind or calm, you'll probably get to see more because they answered me. As soon as I thought, like I didn't speak it out loud, as soon as I thought, exactly, this is how it happened. Inside myself, I'm speaking to myself, and I said, that's a UFO. And then right after that, I said, but why are you here? Like, why are you here at my house? And they said, we're here for you. We're here for you. Just that quickly, just that fast. And just from the unknown, you tend to want to scream. And so then I did. I started screaming for help. And then everything went dark. So what if I had stood there and been calm? What if I didn't freak out? Would they have said more? Could I have asked questions? Now I have so many more questions. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll probably be like, God, please send your angels, whatever, or surround me with protection, or. But I will stand. I will try my best to stand unless they just take me down before I can ask questions.
But
I will ask all the questions I can ask.
But what if, in order to get those questions answered, you had to remember the entire experience, even if that means you're on a table and there's little freaky dudes standing around you, and you would have to go through that to get the answers.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, that's a good question. It could have been very traumatic. They could have did so many things to me that I don't want to remember. But not knowing, Shannon, is, I think, worse than knowing. I'm not for sure on that. But if I had the opportunity, would I want to know? I would say yes. I would want to know. I want to know, no matter what they did. And it may be terrifying. It might be life changing. It might make me crazy. I don't know. But not knowing, to me, I think is worse than knowing. I've heard. I think it might have been L.A. or Yvonne. I'm not sure. The lady that hypnotized me. It might have been Yvonne that said it, but she said, people, your body will allow you to remember things when it's ready to remember, because some things are so traumatic. And you hear stories of children that have been abused or whatever, and they split personalities, or they'll, what is it called, where they can't handle a situation, so they fragment. I don't know, Shannon. I just feel like I'm strong enough to take it no matter what they did. I don't know for sure. I really don't know for sure. I'm just speaking from an honest place, but not knowing is torture. You constantly think about it. You do. You just constantly, it's a part of your life still. Like, it just happened yesterday. And this happened when I was 20 or 21. I'm almost 50 now. And all these years, it's with me. It's a part of me every day. And that's why I reached out to you, because I want answers. I want to know. I don't know if my body could take it. I don't know if my mind could take it, but I feel like I could.
No, I can
I really,
understand that. Where the not knowing is worse than the knowing, no matter what you'd have to go through to get to the knowing.
mm, I know it happened to me. That I know. Like, I've heard other stories since then, like Travis Walton. God, I can't imagine going through that. What if I have memories like that?
Right.
So I don't know if I can handle it, but not knowing is worse than knowing, I think. And personally, I just want to know.
All right, so again, the snapshot of the occurrence that we're talking about is Austell, Georgia, 15 minutes outside of Atlanta back in 1995. That was the year. So if anybody has seen this thing, like Angela's saying, hey, I'm pretty sure there had to be somebody that saw this thing 2:30 to 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Please get in touch with me, Shannon at intofrayradio.com. Or if you heard another podcast where someone was talking about something similar to this, even the way that the craft itself acted, get in touch with me. All of these little data points are extremely important, and we have to get it out there. And of course, Angela, the biggest thing is to tell you thank you for being willing to come on and share this with us.
Thank you so much, Shannon. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you doing that, saying get in touch with me if anyone else seen this, because there has to be somebody that saw something. It's good to know I got somebody looking for that information. Thank you so much, Shannon. I appreciate it.
If you would like to share your experience or experiences, email me at shannon@intothefrayradio.com. And a hello to new Patreon members, Laurel, Arno Pensonault, and Nicole Maroc. If you love ITF and appreciate all the work that goes into it and would like to get extra content for yourself, head to patreon.com/intothefray or simply search Into the Fray in Patreon to check out the various pledge levels. They have not only a great website, but also a very easy-to-use app as well. So join our very active community on Patreon that Ryan Sprague once fittingly named the Fraysies. You can even try it free for 7 days. Again, that's patreon.com/intothefray. And the last thing, today, April 23rd, 2024, Aaron Deese's latest book all about Dogman, titled Hunting Grounds, Dogmen of the Lakes, is available on Amazon in paperback or ebook edition right now. This book ties directly in with our upcoming Small Town Monsters documentary, Dogman Territory, Werewolves in the Land Between the Lakes. Yes, we went to the LBL. Yes, we spoke to many people who have some very strange and sometimes scary encounters. Look for that to release on various streaming platforms in late May or June of this year. But as I said, in the meantime, get your copy of Aaron's latest and prepare for the wolf.